Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another exciting Minecraft discussion. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I am thrilled to have a chat with you from my kitchen and living room today because it's like raw out there. It's March, and it's just, but it's a snuggly day is what it is. So I'm excited to have this discussion on belonging to you, belonging to yourself, and I was inspired actually yesterday by I had the honor and privilege of speaking at the Vermont Women in Leadership Conference yesterday in Stowe, and it was just what an amazing group of women. And the actual topic was hashtag self-care is not selfish, and part of it got into the fitting in versus belonging, which Brene Brown also does a lot of work with, so I got to give a shout out there. And I know for me, the actual authentic belonging thing has been like up until now, now I'm a work in progress. So just for some of you who haven't seen the other videos, the fitting in versus belonging thing, fitting in is actually the opposite, the polar opposite of belonging. Belonging is authentic. It's when we're living inside of our frames where the self-value and our authentic power, our original worthiness feelings, all of that authenticity is in our own frame. The fitting in thing is the opposite, because that's ego driven, not driven by the authentic self. The fitting in means that I am adjusting and adapting myself to fit in with whatever conversation is going on out here externally, with whatever's going on with the group. I'm molding myself to fit in with that, even if it's really, really subtle. Because sometimes we think, oh, that's so teenager. And yes, it is, and that's developmentally appropriate for them, actually. Yet we can still, as 30, 40, 50-something, 60-something, 70, 80, 90-somethings, okay, we can still occasionally slide into that by sliding out of our own frame. And it can be in subtle ways. It can be we're in our professional, work environment, and they're talking politics or vaccines or baseball or whatever they're talking about. And it can be a subtle adaptation where we take on a different tone. We don't have to fully change our view, though that can be the case too. But we wouldn't maybe fully stand up and say what we would have. It's that kind of fakey fake, like we're pretending something. I don't know, but that's a fitting in. That's I have my posse and I fit in with this posse, this group, and though it is very teenager in some senses, it doesn't go away because of this need that we have, right? And so. Anyway, so we have the authentic self, and the evil twin of the authentic self is the ego. So that fitting in thing is all coming from the ego, because the authentic self doesn't need the kudos, doesn't need the external approval, doesn't need that like dope fix of, ooh, somebody threw me a cookie and I'm a part of them. We don't need that anymore. And so belonging is driven by the authentic self, right? Belonging is true sense of belonging. So here's the thing, when we mold and adapt to fit in with whatever the group is saying or doing, we belong to them, but then we no longer belong to ourselves. We no longer belong to ourselves. And I actually slid into this. It was a professional situation, and it was subtle. It was a few months ago, and it's wild because I had some emotion going on. I'm like, what's up with this? That, trying to, fit in with what was going on there. And I was kind of irritated for a little while, and I really thought about it. And then later after I processed, I was actually grateful. I was grateful because it was a reawakening for me, because it's like life gives us quizzes, and I thought I'd pass the final exam, but apparently I didn't, because I got another quiz. And I'm like, oh, thank you for reminding me. Don't need it. I don't need to fit in with you. I just don't. Whatever the thing that was going on, I do not need to fit in with you. Why? Because I belong to myself. And when we really belong to ourselves, it also brings about the courage to stand alone, right? The courage to stand alone. And courage is defined, I think Brene also talks about this. Comes from the Latin word, courage. Courage comes from the Latin word cur, which means heart. And in the very general definition of courage is when we can sort of jump in with both feet and put ourselves out there and not care about the outcome. Like not care, but not know what the outcome is. Like, it's true bravery, just jumping out there, not knowing what the outcome is going to be. Courage. And also to for one to be able to share their story just from complete vulnerability, just honesty and integrity, and just full force putting out your story, and without knowing what the outcome is going to be, how it's going to be received. That is true courage. And for me, this sense of belonging, I'm sure, stemmed from, or the need for belonging, stemmed way back from my childhood. I mean, we all have a need for belonging, though I think it definitely throws a wrench in a child when they don't feel like they belong to their own family, because that feels like that should be automatic, right? Like you know, mom and dad, or dad and dad, or whomever, mom and mom. But that wasn't the case for me. I don't know if there was a day in my life I felt like I belonged to my family. I just didn't. I just, as you know, the backstory, I wasn't, you know, there was abuse there, physical, sexual, and emotional. The sexual abuse came from outside my immediate family, but still they didn't deal with it even when they knew about it. And that's about the biggest "I don't love you" that there could possibly be, right? And so the sense of, I didn't feel like I belonged in my own family. And of course, it seems like in midlife is when we look back and we kind of can piece some of this together, realizing, you know, what was going on in the bigger picture with other people and all that sort of thing. But the point is that I wouldn't change any of it. I wouldn't change any of it. Not blaming anybody anymore. Did for a while, not anymore. I wouldn't change any of it, because wow, has it been such an enriched, just a rich life. I've had a rich, rich life, and such an enriched experience doing the archaeological dig. I have to say, my gratitude has gratitude has gratitude. And so coming back to the belonging thing, with the authentic power, when the authentic self slides back into the driver's seat and says, hey, wait, whoa, I don't need the external approval anymore. I don't need to people please and be a human doing because I need you to like me by whatever I'm doing for you. And then and that's how I get my self-worth and all that stuff. I don't need to do that anymore, because the only approval I need is on the inside, because I belong to me. And it was really, some of the women were saying yesterday too, it's really important to remember that when we make this much of an adjustment, like so subtle with again, political views or the vax or whatever anybody's talking about, when we make this much of an adjustment to fit in with just a conversation, we are temporarily misplacing a piece of ourselves, because we can't do both. When we fit in with the group, we then cease to fit in with us. That's really important to know. We got to return to the frame and realize that I do have the courage to stand alone, because I belong to me. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from Northern Vermont on a very raw, snuggly day. Have a mindful day.